Resting up, the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat are still fighting for the Eastern Conference title. Jimmy Butler and the Heat are one loss away from blowing a 3-0 lead. With more on what's on Instant Replay tonight, here's Larry Ramirez. They have some problems in Miami.
They sure do. The NBA Finals were almost set. We were this close, Tim Gerber. The Heat were less than 1 second away from the NBA Finals, and Derek White stunned the crowd in Miami with this game-winning putback coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
I think your dad said this is your first game winner ever. Are there any moments from your career that compare to this?
First game winner ever? I had some, especially when I college or something. I'm going to check my dad on that one.
Check your dad, that's right. Serving as the inbounds passer on the final possession of the game, Derek White zoomed in for the biggest putback of the series, tying this at 3 games all. Teams are 0 for 150 in NBA playoff series when trailing 3 games to none. Is Boston about to change that?
Tista, top of the box, Zuhair. Turning back here to his left, Zuhair puts it in, Rina Zuhair. Welcome to San Antonio.
San Antonio FC closed out the month of May last night with a 2-1 win at home in front of the best fans in the USL Championship. A key victory for the Mentality Monsters after falling to one of the worst teams the week before in Detroit City FC.
Have your dad in the stands and have him give you a shirt like this. What does that mean to you, just to see and get his support around here?
It's awesome, and this shirt was made by Corpus Christi Ray. They thought they were going to beat us. You see us right there.
WWE legend Bill Goldberg would finish off his opponents with the jackhammer. Well, Saturday, his son Gage and the champion Chargers baseball team took out CC Ray in the UIL baseball playoffs in 3 games, advancing to the 5A regional finals. And after the game, dad and son shared a cool moment on the field. How about that? Plus, New Braunfels Canyon softball is back in the state tournament. We go one-on-one with Missions pitcher Alec Jacob. And are you concerned that Victor Wembanyama is playing in the French basketball playoffs? That's our Instant Replay poll question tonight. That and much more coming up at 11.
Derek White, fact-checking dad. That's like fact-checking your mom when she says she loves you. Thanks,
well, you don't argue with mom, though.
No,
I mean, come on.
You trust her. All right, still to come on the Nightbeat. If you're smoking a brisket tomorrow for Memorial Day, you're not the only one. How to get rave reviews thanks to some tips from a bona fide barbecue expert.
And the Pope is back in action after feeling unwell this past week. He has several health issues that he's had lately. What kept him out of the mix this time?
And it's an important option for families who lose loved ones who are veterans. Burial benefits, but only a small percentage of military families use them. What the government is doing to make those benefits more available.
Pope Francis has returned to work after taking a day off due to fever. That's according to the daily appointment schedule sent by the Vatican. The Pope canceled all of his meetings on Friday morning because of his illness. The 86-year-old pontiff has had a recent history of medical issues, including spending a couple of days in the hospital in March for bronchitis.
All right, check out this mysterious green liquid that showed up in Italy's Grand Canal in Venice. Local authorities say the patch of phosphorescent green water appeared this morning. The police are now involved in trying to figure out how it got there. It kind of looks like when they dyed the river in Chicago. Now, the surveillance videos are something that they're looking at because this is happening just a week after environmental activists poured charcoal in Rome's landmark Trevi Fountain. But those activists say they are not responsible for the green water in Venice. It will remain a mystery. All right, if you know our morning anchor, Mark Austin, you know he loves spending his weekend smoking brisket. He actually bought his first smoker, we're told, back in 2019, and he's been obsessed ever since.
Yes, he really likes brisket. He gives us a look at what it takes to smoke brisket just in time for the holiday weekend and summer barbecues.
It's rare to find an artist carrying a shovel, but people travel from other states and countries just to see 88-year-old Texas pitmaster Tootsie Tominette's work her magic.
TLC, tender love and care. You have to take care of it, you have to watch it, you have to pay attention what you're doing.
Tootsie's been right here since 2003, and in 2008, this place was named the best barbecue in Texas. We are here at Snow's Barbecue in Lexington, Texas, right between Austin and College Station. And for a lot of folks, this is the center of the barbecue universe. It inspires a lot of us to want to learn even more about how to make that perfect brisket. So our next stop, Camp Brisket in College Station. This year, Texas A&M's Camp Brisket drew people from 22 states and 3 foreign countries, and Tootsie's rock star status was on full display.
She said I had to get a picture with Tootsie. That was the rule.
This class is a tough ticket to get. Some have waited years to be here.
It's incredible. I mean, you're in a room full of meat nerds, right? Like, what could go wrong?
Jess Pryles hosts Barbecue Quest on Hulu.
It's a really interesting dynamic because all of our speakers are either professors or professional pitmasters. And I'm sort of in this weird hybrid world of I've seen the professional side of things, but I'm also just a home cook.
You know, first thing you do is...
So much of the information that they get at camp is about restaurant cooking, and that actually takes a little bit of finessing to learn how to do that for home.
Camp Brisket students take a crash course in meat sciences, learning cattle anatomy, meat trimming, beef grading, knife and wood selection, pit design, panel discussions, more panel discussions, and lots of questions.
The most common questions we get usually are what's the temperature, what's the temperature of the smoker, what's the temperature of the end product of the temperature, should I wrap or not wrap?
We'll get to that.
It's the first lunch break, and what do we get to do? Sample brisket. We are about to grade it on things like flavor, tenderness, juiciness, and overall like. Don't think that's going to be a problem.
It turns out making good barbecue is a 3-act play. Repetition is key.
You know, the first act is getting the right product, getting it trimmed, getting the right seasoning on it, getting the fire built and such. Act 2 is everything that you need to cook and go through all of that. And then Act 3 is the culmination where you remove it from the fire, let it rest, hold it, and let it just kind of get in good shape for the serving.
Smoking low and slow may be the rule, but as this class preaches, resting the finished product is now gospel.
Probably the best thing to do is if you want brisket for supper, have it ready to go for lunch. And properly hold it and such, but in that time, it's almost like the juices all get reabsorbed. Everything becomes softer.
Dr. Savel also imparts this wisdom: experiment with your technique, but not too much.
Don't change 5 things at one time. You'll never know what worked or didn't work.
Another thing we took away from Camp Brisket is that Texas barbecue has, like most things, evolved.
So we're seeing a lot of fusion with things like Tex-Mex barbecue, even we're seeing a lot of Asian barbecue as well, Korean barbecue, and it's going to be representing the multiple faces of Texas.
Boo Aker runs Aker Barbecue with her husband up in Fredericksburg.
I use a Korean ingredients, make a rib with smoke, and then I make sauce for it. So that's actually really popular. It's we call it gochujang ribs. It's a pepper paste base sauce. It's a little spicy and sweet, and people love it. And we also have house-made kimchi and some of the Korean sides.
Fresh off her appearance at Camp Brisket, Miss Tootsie is back at Snow's, where she talks about old school barbecue in a way that can't necessarily be taught.
So it's just a lot of tender love and care put into it.
Half a pound of brisket, please.
And the thoughtfulness of what people will think when they are eating it. You want a good product, you want a pretty product. I fall back to my TLC.
And now we're all hungry.
I know.
Fantastic.
So good.
My tummy's growling.
A lot of people will be making brisket tomorrow, so Mia, what can we expect?
Yep, in terms of your grilling forecast, not everybody's gonna find any big issues out there. A few of us probably wanting to be under some kind of cover for a little bit, as we could find a few showers and storms out there. Pretty spotty though in nature. A look at the almanac data for today. 71 was the low, pretty seasonable for this time of year, but we only had a high of 85 degrees. The average is 90, so we were 5 degrees below the average. And really, I think that's going to be the trend into tomorrow as well. It was 85 in Pleasanton, 84 in Cotulla, 81 up in Kerrville, and 85 over in Gonzales. Again, tomorrow and even into Tuesday is slightly below average temperatures, but as we start to see this weather pattern dry out just a little bit more and more sunshine return, upper 80s and even low 90s possible into next weekend. Another full look at that forecast is coming up in just a few.
All right, thank you, Mia. Well, the Department of Veterans Affairs wants families to know about burial benefits that often go unused, how the agency is trying to change that. The Department of Veterans Affairs wants to raise awareness about a final honor for the nation's veterans.
CNN's Karen Kafa reports on how the department says burial benefits frequently go unused by veterans, and they want those who served and their families to know the extent of their options.
Amid the quiet and the solemnity, Arlington National Cemetery is expanding, adding 70 acres to the south of these hallowed grounds, an estimated 80,000 burial sites by late 2027.
The current physical expansion that we're doing right now was the last available land contiguous, in other words, connecting to Arlington National Cemetery. And even to do that expansion, we've had to reconstruct existing roads.
The cemetery, maintained by the U.S. Army but open to veterans of all branches, will be able to accommodate a fraction of the current 23 million active duty service members and veterans.
Without southern expansion, we would close as an active cemetery, which means new burials around 2041. Southern expansion, when complete, will take us to about the mid-2060s.
About 30 miles to the south of Arlington is Quantico National Cemetery. It's one of 155 national cemeteries across the nation maintained by the Department of Veterans Affairs National Cemetery Administration. Matthew Quinn, VA Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs, says the department is working with veterans groups to encourage those who have served to utilize their final benefit.
We are working hard with Arlington National Cemetery and DOD to make sure that there's awareness. So those who maybe are thinking about Arlington, we want to make sure that they know that there's other options as well.
The network also includes 121 state-run cemeteries funded by the VA, and they say about 94% of U.S. veterans have one of these burial sites within 75 miles of home. Still, utilization of VA burial benefits, which include no-cost interment as well as similar benefits for spouses and dependents, is low compared to other VA benefits like health care and education. Last year, just 22%.
That's a number we want to see increase. We want to make sure veterans know that this is an option across America.
So they're working to improve rural access to burial sites and in dense urban areas build above-ground columbariums with a smaller footprint, like this one at Los Angeles National Cemetery. Another will soon open in Queens, New York. All of it a way to say thank you one final time.
The way we look at it is this is the nation's last chance to thank that veteran for their service.
In Arlington, Virginia, I'm Karen Kafa.
Coming up next, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, unless you live in California. We'll tell you why they're making that policy change next. People living in California will no longer be able to purchase a new home insurance policy from State Farm. The insurance provider stopped accepting home insurance applications as of yesterday. Saturday, State Farm says risk of wildfires, construction costs going up, and a challenging reinsurance market are all reasons for the decision. The agency will also not be taking any applications for business policies. Some good news, though, existing policyholders will not be affected by the new shift.
Well, no crazy storming to worry about. Maybe just some scattered
kind of cooler
weather
too.
Yeah.
Generally run of the mill. Severe weather is not expected tomorrow with the activity that we could find out there on the radar. But for outdoor plans, you may need to monitor for the rogue lightning strike or two. Speaking of which, earlier today, we found a few showers and a few isolated rumbles. Take a look at this awesome photo of one of those elevated showers that actually was sent in from Wilson County. You can see there in the caption, beautiful cloud formation in Floresville. So thank you so much for sending that in to KSAT Connect. This followed some noisy thunderstorms that we had move into our far western counties this time last night. The main thing that we were monitoring with that was some strong gusty winds and also pockets of very heavy rainfall. Take a look at these rainfall totals from last night's activity. 1.7 7.1 out in Del Rio in southern Valverde County, just over half of an inch in Uvalde, just under an inch and a half in Carrizo Springs, 0.18 in Pearsall, and 0.65 up there in Lakey. So some good rainfall out there for the western half of the area. Not looking to see any widespread activity tomorrow, just some hit or miss storms throughout our Memorial Day. Temperatures topping off in the low to maybe mid-80s, especially for those that don't tap into any of the rain. Temperatures after that, we're going to start to see a warming trend take back over. Tuesday, we're in the mid-80s, and then as we head into the middle to later portions of the week, upper 80s and even closing in on that 90-degree mark into next weekend, currently in the forecast. And in terms of rain chances after tomorrow, really decreasing and drying out throughout the remainder of the week as well. And speaking of decreasing rain, quick check-in on that shower that we were monitoring out there in Dimmitt County, just south of Carrizo Springs. That is pretty much fizzled out as it approached the Big Wells area. Still an isolated shower, not off the table before the sun comes up tomorrow morning. And here's the reason why. We've got that area of low pressure, a little disturbance out there in northern Mexico right now. As we head into our Memorial Day, that's just going to continue sliding eastward here across portions of south central Texas, and which is why we have that 30 to 40% potential for a few hit or miss thunderstorms. So again, here's another look at your future cast through the overnight hours tonight. A few isolated showers possible, most miss out. That's the same by wake up time tomorrow morning, and then into the afternoon. By the middle to later portions of the afternoon, that's when we could find a few isolated thunderstorms out there too, before generally those rain chances really start to come down tomorrow evening and into tomorrow night. Now, temperature wise, we're in the 70s right now, 74 over at SA International, 73 at Kelly, 72 at Stinson, stretching over to Randolph there on the east side, 75 in Gonzales as well as Pleasanton, 76 in Cotulla, and 70 over there in Eagle Pass. Through the overnight hours, we'll see those temperatures fall into the upper 60s for the majority of the area, maybe a few low 70s here or there, and then into the afternoon, low to mid 80s currently in the forecast for the later portions of the day on Monday. Here's your KSAT 12-hour forecast again. 70 degrees by 8 a.m., 75 by 11, and then into the afternoon around 82 to 83 here in San Antonio. We'll start to see those temperatures warm back up closer to where we should be by the middle to later portions of the week. So enjoy those slightly below average temperatures tomorrow. We're going to take a step aside and we'll be right back after the break.
I did not speak Russian. Yeah, machine.
Comedian Bert Kreischer's The Machine partied its way to a fifth-place debut on ticket sales of $4.9 million. The Super Mario Bros. Movie dropped to fourth with $6.3 million, while Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 landed in third with $20 million, warping its domestic box office to over $300 million. Fast X downshifted into second, making off with just over $23 million, driving its domestic haul to $114 million after 2 weekends in theaters, and pushing its worldwide total past the $500 million milestone.
I want to be where the people are.
The live-action meets CGI remake of The Little Mermaid splashed its way to #1 in its debut weekend. The musical, featuring familiar as well as new songs, swam away with an estimated $96 million in the first part of the long holiday weekend. Expect Ariel to add more treasure to her collection after Memorial Day. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagella.
San Antonio FC won at Toyota Field last night, 2-1, avoiding back-to-back losses and remaining near the top of the Western Conference standings.
Yes, and potential #1 draft pick Victor Wembanyama. I can't, you guys. Get it wrong every time.
Just call him Wemby.
I'm used to saying Wemby, okay? Well, he led his team to a playoff win in France. For a sneak peek of what's on Instant Replay, Larry, you know how to say it right. I just should have stuck with Wemby.
So we're going to have to teach you Wembanyama.
Okay, Wembanyama.
Yeah, but you can call him Wemby.
That's what I've been saying.
Okay, when I write a script for you again, I'm just going to put Wemby. How about that?
Or I could just practice and get the name right.
There you go. So Spurs fans cannot get enough of Victor Wembanyama, knowing in less than a month he will likely join the Silver and Black, coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
C'est très intéressant là.
Qui dégaine tout de suite pour se prendre un peu de confiance. Et Fall qui est contré par Wembanyama.
Victor Wembanyama beat his former team, Asvel, in the LNB Pro A semifinals with a stellar double-double at both ends of the court. Former NBA player and Frenchman Joakim Noah and New York Knicks guard Derrick Rose are there watching the teenage star.
Someone from MLB.com described your pitching as a Bugs Bunny style pitching. What do you think of that?
I mean, that's a great compliment. Obviously, I remember, watching the cartoons.
Yeah, cartoons. Alec Jacob is one of the better relief prospects in the San Diego Padres system. And right now he calls the San Antonio Missions home. Tonight we go one-on-one with the 2021 draft pick. Plus we've got the Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans, San Antonio Gunslingers, and the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. That and much more coming up live right after the Nightbeat Wembanyama.
Indy got a little crazy. There were tires flying.
I know, it did get crazy today. Yes, sir.
You're going to show us all about that.
Yep.
Thanks, Larry.
And I will practice. We'll be right back.